Yes, I'm still here, Hollywood. And coming up on today's episode, some performers walk into a scene, others take it over. For years, he's been the guy who shows up and instantly makes everything sharper, funnier, and just a little more honest. Whether it's stand-up, Broadway, or one of the most iconic TV franchises of all time, his voice is unmistakable. And after decades in the spotlight, he's still evolving, still surprising, and still saying exactly what everyone else is thinking. This is Still Here Hollywood. I'm Steve Kmetko. Join me with today's guest from Sex and the City and just like that, actor and comedian Mario Cantone. Hello, Mario.
Hello, Steve.
It's so nice to meet you.
It's so nice to meet you.
It's been so long.
Well, I have admired you and your brave ballsiness since you were on E.
I'm ballsy.
Yeah, you are, because you were out and ahead of it. And you know what it was like back then and how troubling it was.
Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah.
I do. In fact, I've been writing my memoirs kind of thing.
Yeah?
Sounds so bogus.
No, but you should.
But
I'd love to read it, because I know you.
Well, they're taking it out this week to see if we can't find somebody to publish it. But I was telling Jim today in the car on the way over here that it stirred up so much stuff. And suddenly, you know, I don't know if you're like this, but whenever I come across somebody who's talking about it online, talking about their own lives online and what they went through and how they had to hide, and I think to myself, you know,
write it. Well, you know, because you know, I got fucking pushed aside and kicked and fired and
really,
many times. I mean, it was, you know, every time, like, it's because I, you know, was doing stand-up for years, and I passed at the mainstream comedy clubs, the Improv and Catch a Rising Star, and they were all great, you know, about it. They didn't care. They liked what I did, but every time there was, like, an audition where, like, the networks would come for a development deal or whatever, never. And, I mean, I did some stand-up shows back then. I did plenty of them. But there was a couple that were like, Like, I was the only one that didn't, like, get it. And I was booked on Johnny Carson in 1986, and a week before, I think his last name was Macaulay. He was the talent booker, and I remember him coming up to me at the Improv. He's like, I don't know what you're going to do. We're going to put together 6 minutes. You're amazing. We're going to do this. And then, like, a week before, he said, I looked at the tape again, and your act has a gay edge to it, and I think it will make Johnny nervous. And he pulled the date. And I was going to be on with Lily Tomlin, who was the reason why I've, you know, in this business kind of, I mean, she was one of my biggest influences, her and Steve Martin too, and Robert Klein. Those are my kind of three when I was really young.
There's a comedian now who does a lot of stand-up that I've just discovered him. I understand he did Ellen for a while. Joe Dombrowski is his name. Oh,
yes.
He's hysterical.
He's hilarious. I follow him on Instagram.
Yeah,
he's terrific.
I've just he's coming to Chicago in October or August or something like that.
Yeah.
But I plan on getting tickets.
Yeah,
because I've never seen him, and he just cracks me up.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's very funny. He was a teacher. He was a kindergarten teacher.
Right.
And then you got someone like Mateo Lane, who always tipped his hat at me, which doesn't happen too often. And he's a gay man. He is selling out, you know, Radio City, and like he's doing it's very impressive. And he's also incredibly generous. He like gives it over to his friends. He includes a lot of comics and promotes them, and I don't know him that well, but we've you know, talked a little bit, but he's very funny. Yeah. So it's a whole different game now.
I follow him too. And there's another person who did this bit that caught my eye and made me laugh out loud. He talks about a giraffe, and he imitates the giraffe walking. And I can't remember his name, but how this giraffe has to have attitude, and, you know, they don't run, they saunter. It's just, you know, it was great stuff. Anyway, we're starting in the middle here.
It's okay.
We should go back to the beginning. Mario.
What?
Tell me, did you ever expect the role of Anthony to turn into what it did?
I was hoping it would. I mean, I know I did one episode. The first episode I did was, I think it was episode 11 in the third season, when I was dressing Charlotte in Vera Wang for her wedding dress. And no, I mean, and I actually had two scenes, The second scene came later in the episode where I was fitting her and she was getting very anxious, and I was like, just calm down. And I had the scissors and it ripped her dress. But they cut that scene. It was filmed at 4 a.m. They didn't get enough coverage, so they cut it, which was good, because then we didn't have that kind of altercation. And Michael Patrick King is someone I was doing stand-up with at the Improv years ago, and started with him, and he's always loved what I did, and it was just a good friend, and he wrote that part for me. And I remember running into him after it aired, and he said, we got a lot of feedback about you. I said, well, am I coming back? He goes, yeah. And I did. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm very lucky that happened. It was a big deal, and it made me international and global, which is the same thing, and intergalactic. They know me on Venus. But no, it's amazing. Yeah. And I think the two movies kind of cemented it. And then it came back for 3 years.
Which I liked that show.
I did too. I thought it was, because you know what? We're older and we get it. And I loved it too. I mean, and I was a regular for the first time in my life, which changes your whole way of life. It's amazing. It was really exciting. And I had a great time. And yeah, I mean, it was thrilling. I wanted one more year, Steve.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah, I know how that goes.
It just kind of, I know. It's just like, really, just one more. Because, yeah, I was very sad that it ended.
I was trying to figure out, why did it end? And, you read the comments, which is a bad thing to do.
Yes. But I read everything, Steve. I flood
so
myself. You know what? It's called flooding. I told this to George Stephanopoulos. I'm like, you don't know what flooding is? You should know. Flooding is when you just read everything, so it doesn't affect you.
Oh, but it still does.
No, do you know what?
I'm sensitive.
I am too, but I'm like, okay, they said that, they said this. I've gotten the worst reviews of my life in Broadway shows, and I've gotten great reviews in Broadway shows, and and then with this project, with And Just Like That, some articles will mention me and say lovely things, and some won't even mention me at all, which is worse. But no, I do read everything. I just do. Bring it. Bring it.
Bring it.
What are you doing behind your computer like a cowardly lion?
Exactly.
With a sock on your head?
Did you have any idea how big that show was going to be?
Sex in the City?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I got there the third year, so it was really, rising. Yeah, but it was, because I would walk the streets just from that one scene. I got recognized a lot. And then, yeah, I knew it was big when I got in it, but then I had no idea it was going to go on as far as syndication and this the younger generation today of girls discovering it. I can't go near I live down the street from the meatpacking district, which that area in New York City was basically accelerated in development because of the show Sex in the City. And, I go down there. Drunk women chase me, which is not a fun thing.
When it first came on the air, we weren't giving it the attention it deserved at first on E. And Sarah herself made certain we got copies of the show, and she penned, as they say, a wonderful little note saying, please watch, please give us another chance. And sure enough, Jules and I fell in love with that show.
Yeah.
And became regulars. And then we'd see them at the Emmys every year.
And then it was syndicated on E. It
Oh,
still
was
is.
it?
Oh, yeah.
I was probably fired by then.
Yeah.
What did you do to tap into Anthony's voice and attitude? They wrote it for you, so
he wrote it for me. I mean, it was a no-brainer. And it's also Michael. It's also Michael Patrick King. He's so protective of the character, what I wore, what I said, and he directed me within an inch of my life. And so he for some reason had a lot of stake in that character. And then, when Just Like That came around, I didn't know what in what capacity I'd be involved with it. If it was going to be recurring, which is what I did. But when they said you're going to be a regular, I was like, oh shit.
Did you get input at any point? Did you get to tell them this isn't going to work?
No, I don't argue with him. Nope. I love him to death. I've known him for years, and I've really never had. I mean, there may be a take where I'm like, I want to do it this way, and he's like, no. He's tough. He's tough with me. He's tough with the ones he loves. He is very. He's just a strong director, but I like that. I like someone. I mean, I've worked at the best director on Broadway. 3 out of the 5 Broadway shows I've done, Joe Mantello. He's strong. He's a brilliant director. I trust him with my life as far as choices and what I'm doing. So, and I feel the same about Michael. But, I don't want someone that's going to be gentle with me. I want them to tell me. I want the old school directors. Everyone's afraid of being that way because, you get canceled. But, just toughen up and take it. That's what I think. Toughen up. I'm like, tough. I'm so done. Just toughen up. It's
If
going
I
to be
can
okay.
tell you can do the job, then I really want you to guide me.
Yes, absolutely. And those are...
And you're not going to hurt my feelings.
No, absolutely not. So he writes for me beautifully. And then, he gave me a great storyline in this new iteration of it, and just like that. I mean, he gave me me and Willie, may he rest in peace, who I missed terribly. We had a whole thing we were going to go through, and then that didn't happen. But he had that first season of And Just Like That. He had to write for me on the fly. And I thought, okay, well, I'm done. And he was like, no, we need you now more than ever. And and writing for me on the fly that first season, I feel like he wrote some of the best stuff for me. It was some of the funniest stuff for me. And then he gave me The Boyfriend, who was 27 and beautiful, and Sebastiano Pagazzi played
We'll
him.
get to that.
We're like brothers now. He's like become one of my best friends.
He's gorgeous.
He's gorgeous, and he's so good, and he's such a good guy. We traveled to Italy with him and his girlfriend, and me and my husband Jerry. We met his family, and we got very close, and he's just a good guy. I love him to death.
He was such a strong character, Anthony was.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're cornered?
Yeah.
Typecast?
Sure. Yeah. I was just thinking, they just did, I'm here for the Turner Classic Movie Film Festival, and the first movie, the premiere night, was Jane Fonda being interviewed for Barefoot in the Park in a tribute to Robert Redford. One of my first things I ever did was I had a scene in Quiz Show directed by Robert Redford, and it was a tough Italian guy harassing Ray Fiennes. So, and I just was surprised I didn't go on with that kind of character and do it more. But being a stand-up comedian, not that I was openly gay when I first started, but I certainly wasn't talking about going on dates with women and being attracted to. I mean, I was doing Betty Davis and Julia Child. If you didn't know, you were an idiot. So I just did the stand-up. And then that was like in 83, I started at the Improv in New York City. Silver Friedman, may she rest in peace, she hired me, and she was great with me. And then Louis Ferranda, who hired me at Catch a Rising Star, that came later. I was always horrified in these mainstream rooms. Horrified. I hated
Because you were gay?
Because I was gay, and the fear of being called a faggot from the back of the room at 2 a.m., which did happen. Not so much in New York, but it would happen that's why I didn't go on the road too much. I remember being in Princeton and being called a faggot at Catch a Rising Star in the Hyatt Hotel, and they did nothing about it.
They didn't escort the person out?
No, and because I made fun of the front desk woman, whose name was Sarah, and I called her Sarah Plain and Tall because she was mean when we were checking in, and someone in the audience seconded that for me. They were like, "Excuse me, to me too." I was like, "Yeah." They had a meeting about me because I said Sarah Plain and Tall was mean. Really? And then I'm the one who got banned from the club because I was. It's sick. But anyway, yeah.
Do you still worry about being openly gay?
No. Please. I got one foot in the grave.
Yeah, well.
One on a banana peel. it's no. I even back then I was like, fuck it, what's gonna happen? What are they gonna do to me? And but I was always terrified though. I was always terrified. Even all those years on The View, I was terrified. But I would do really well on that show, but I would go on that show. Not that it didn't further my career, but it didn't really further my career that much. It furthered my visibility. And then I would be like, well, okay, so what if this segment you do sucks? What if you bomb? What's going to happen? What's it going to do? Because the great ones didn't do anything either. The times that I had segments that were really funny. Anyway, yeah. I'm like Truman Capote. I'm very bitter.
With a much better voice. When did you first know it wasn't going to be a problem? Or you could overcome the problem?
I always knew it was going to be a problem. I never knew it wasn't going to be a problem. Now it's all good, but I'm not young anymore. I'm older, and they know what I do. And like, oh yeah, we know him. So it's more like that. I'm not. Like Andrew Rannells came into it at the right time, and for my money, one of the most talented ones out there. Gifted, funny, talented guy.
He's Jonathan Groff.
Jonathan Groff, gifted,
right
one
time.
of the greats. But they work hard too. I don't work that hard. I'm lazy. I'm the laziest man in show business.
No, you're not.
I just want to sleep. People go, how come you look so good at 66? Sleep all you can.
Before time runs out.
Sleep all you can. Because there's nothing much going on when you're awake. It's not fun.
Like it used to.
No, not like it used to be.
And we'll be right back. If you'd like to be more involved with us at Still Here Hollywood, you definitely can. Just visit patreon.com/stillherehollywood. You can support us for as little as $3 a month. You can get our episodes a day before they post anywhere else. You can see what guests will be coming up and submit questions for them. You can even tell us what stars you want us to have on as guests. You'll see what goes on before and after the episode, plus exclusive behind-the-scenes info, pics, video, and more. Again, that's patreon.com/stillherehollywood. The Anthony and Stanford dynamic, bickering then married, was weirdly one of the more honest portrayals of gay male relationships, friendships on mainstream TV.
Yeah.
How much of that was you and Willie Garson?
That was all Michael writing that.
Really?
Well, I didn't know we were going to end up together. I mean, even the first movie, when we kissed during the New Year's Eve segment, montage, or whatever it was, I didn't know that was leading to us getting married in the second movie. Had no idea. I just thought it was like, here we are both alone. We run into each other. It's a kind of a lonely New Year's Eve kiss. No, I didn't know that. I really didn't. So when we got married, I was like, oh, wow. And then it was supposed to continue. And Liza Minnelli married us. I remember. I just read her book. It was great. It was really good. Did you read it?
No, I didn't. I bought it, but I didn't read it yet.
She tells everything. Because she's always I've known her for years, and she's always kept everything very close.
Does she talk about Peter Allen?
She talks about Peter Allen. She talks about everybody. She talks about her mother. I mean, I've spoken to her a little bit about her mother, because my mother was scary too. So we kind of had one small conversation about that one time when we were at dinner. But, she kept that all very quiet, and I understand that. And she's like, now, I'm 80, fuck it, let's go. And I do her. I did her in my one-man show on Broadway, and she, I closed the first act with her, and she wanted to come to the opening night. I was like, no way. I said, I'm not doing that. I can't. And I know she knew I did her, and I've done her in front of her, and she likes it and she doesn't. She doesn't like that I do her mother, even though I revere her mother more than anything. But she asked me to sing at her 80th birthday party celebration at Carnegie Hall in June, which I'm shocked and really pleased. So that's
this coming June?
Yeah. June 25th.
Some people argue Will and Grace gets all the cultural credit for normalizing gay men on TV.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think Sex and the City gets overlooked.
Yeah, because we weren't leads. We were recurring characters, and rightfully so. Will and Grace should, because they were. And that first came on the air, I was like, 2 gay men. This is in one show. 2 gay characters, never gonna fly. Boy, was I wrong. But that was an incredibly talented cast, and Sean, who I've known for a while, I think is one of the most gifted people. His Oscar Levant on Broadway was...
I saw it here.
Oh.
Not here, Chicago,
Yeah.
at the Goodman Theater
Come
where
on.
he opened it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean...
Incredible.
I was like, go get your Tony. And I was right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's great to see.
Can you remember a time on Sex and the City? Talking about Will and Grace reminds me, I really didn't pay that much attention to Will and Grace at first. And I had the television on at home, and I was doing something in the kitchen, and I was listening to the dialogue on Will and Grace as it was happening, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing because I really didn't know anything about the show. It was when it first came on. Was there ever a time or a line that they gave you on Sex and the City where you thought to yourself, I can't believe I'm saying this?
Yeah.
I can't believe they asked me to say this.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Sex and the City, especially. I was the rude one. I was the really blunt one, and I got to say. I mean, even that scene. I think it was one of the movies. I think it was the first movie when Samantha comes back and she's gained weight. She comes to the door, and I'm like, "What's with the gut? Forget about the puppy. What's with the gut?" And he gave me that line on the spot. Because he's like, I'm the only one that can get away with it. And even when it just like that came along, I was like, give me everything that's politically incorrect. And he was protective with me. He was like, we don't want to cancel Anthony. We have to still be careful, but we still have to. But also, he evolved. What Michael said to me too was, so I had this bakery with all these hot guys, hot fellas, and I was like, I immediately thought I'm going to be fucking around with all these guys, because that's how he was very promiscuous. And he said, no. He goes, you don't shit where you eat. This is you've evolved. So I was like, okay. So that's also like in the second movie. No, in the first movie, it was during the writer's strike. So I got to improvise a lot because I didn't improvise that much. People think I did, but I didn't. It was a few things here and there. Because I would improvise. He's like, no. Michael would be like, no. I'm like, all right. So, but the first movie, like, when I was putting her in the limousine, the wedding dress, I was pushing the wedding dress, and I said, it's like pushing a cupcake through a keyhole. I got to write that because he was like, seriously, I've always been an improviser. When I did Quiz Show with Robert Redford, he said to me, I had 2 lines, and I would just say those 2 lines the first few takes. But I had improvised during the audition. So he was like, just say what you want to add to it. I was like, okay. And he had his arm around me, and I was looking at him, and if there was a bubble over my head with words in it, it would have said, I used to jerk off to this guy. Because he was so handsome. And he was kind too. Yeah, I worked with the big ones. I worked with the Mankowitzes, the Redfords.
Yeah, I interviewed Robert once.
Yeah.
We had a nice sit-down interview,
Nice.
And he did a walking, talking shot, which was unusual because I was taller, a little taller, and, they like to be seen or thought of as Mr. Stallone always wanted to be.
He's short, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Redford was a little taller than me. Yep.
What's one scene fans bring up to you constantly from Sex and the City?
The first one. Hates it, when I'm picking out the wedding dresses. I mean, I love that scene, but there's so many others that I mean, I think in Just Like That, the scene in bed with Sebastiano, Giuseppe, when we were talking about topping and bottoming, that whole thing, I think it's a great fucking scene. And it's not something that's not discussed, and it's such a generational thing too. But he was like, well, why can't we, one day you fuck me and then the next day, no, So that whole thing is just so smart and funny, and yeah, I love. That's one of my favorite scenes, and I guess I like the in the original one. I think the scene on the bench when I'm telling her that she I'm trying to fix her up, and guys are walking by. I'm like, cute, gay and doesn't know it. Like that whole thing. Look at him, handsome and Jewish. Like, I love that scene, and I say to her, if you don't get this going, you're gonna be knocking on sad girl's door, and nobody likes a sad girl. I always threw up my Joan Crawford, and Michael was like, "You're doing Joan Crawford." I'm like, I know, can't help it.
It's organic. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, well, I feel like I need to explain something here. You were openly gay. I have been.
Yeah.
Not for a long time, it doesn't seem, but it still sometimes frightens me.
Frightens you?
Yeah, because I'm afraid of what people will think. Son of a Baptist minister.
Yeah, well, that's why.
And
that's what it was. Where are your parents still with us?
Nope.
And did they ever accept you?
No, it was not discussed.
Yeah.
I went to tell my father once, and I was going to talk to him about it, and I think he knew where I was going.
And
he put up his hand like a traffic cop, and he said, Steve, there was a time and place when people's private lives were private. Let's keep it that way.
Wow. And that was then.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mother was not my mother died when I was 21, and she was not having it. She did not. But she loved my sister's best friend, Harold, who was gay. But she did not like that I was gay, and, never really accepted it. Whereas my father, who was the Sicilian one, was like, he didn't want to hear about it, but he was like, whatever. He just was kind of, I remember one day, because he had so many women. He never left my mother, but he had a lot of women. And he said to me, because we found out he had another son, and I confronted him about it, and he was like, oh, what are you talking about? I'm like, Dad, we found the picture of him, Philip. We found the picture. Philip, I don't know Philip. I said, Dad, I found his picture. He was like, that's you. I'm like, that's not me. I know what my high school picture looks like. And then one day he said to me, thank you for accepting my lifestyle. And I said, well, no, I said to him, thank you for accepting my lifestyle, Dad. I did say that to him. And he said, well, thank you for accepting mine. And I went, touche. How many waitresses did you have affairs with?
And you thought you had the upper hand in that conversation.
Yeah, I know. But he was pretty cool about it. And when I went to Italy and I went to my mother's region, which was in Naples, in the Naples area, and Amalfi Coast and that whole area, they're not good with gay people.
Really?
Naples is a little better. I saw 2 guys holding hands there last year. But Naples was like, but in Sicily, which is where my father's from, they were kind of like, they didn't want to, they didn't want you having sex in front of them or showing any PDA, but they didn't care. They didn't give you the side eye. They weren't giving you this kind of,
Have you gotten a lot of positive feedback from people who are gay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have. I get emails and DMs saying, thank you for, being who you are your whole life. That's the only, look, I'm not a big activist, but the only way I can do it is just be who I am. And I have been that way forever. So if I'm not marching at everything.
Do you remember being called names?
Yeah. And when I was young?
Yeah.
As a kid? Yeah. Junior high school, which is now middle school. Why does everything change? Why does the vocabulary change? I was bashed, not physically, but verbally, all through 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And then when 10th grade happened, and this was in the 70s, I was gay. I mean, I didn't announce it on the intercom, but I had my friends, and they knew. I got very accepted, and the guys that used to bully me in junior high school became like my protectors. Steve Jameson, and he was like, he used to give me shit in junior high school. In high school, he became my protector. My friend Billy, who I was in love with, track star, he beat the shit out of someone because they called me a fag at a dance. and he was straight. I mean, I was protected by some of these guys. This was in 1976, 77, 78. So for some reason, it all flipped over in high school. And in the 70s, and you know this, gay liberation, that's what it was called. It was accelerating. It was moving forward.
Until AIDS
happened, which slapped the whole thing back 40 years. And that was the end of it. And if that didn't happen, I think gay marriage would have been legal a lot sooner. But after that, I just thought, well, this is the end. But the fact that gay marriage happened in our time was pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing. For a while I was seeing Greg Louganis.
Oh, yes.
Who was very public about being HIV positive.
Yes. And
I used to get emails at E. People would write things like, do you have some kind of a death wish?
Wow. This is
just
stupid.
Your jaw drops open.
Yeah, of course it does.
I can remember being called a femme in elementary school and high school. You femme.
That was always a good word.
Oh, yeah.
And then the word queer. Queer was just as bad as fag. So who made that the umbrella word for all of us? I want to know. It wasn't someone of our generation. I don't even think it was someone of the generation below us. Who did it? I didn't get a vote.
I know when I was telling my parents once when they were visiting, I was going to see Katie Lang.
Yeah.
I love her. She's
I do too.
Wonderful. And I remember saying that to my parents, that I was going to see Katie Lang, and my father said, "Who's that?" And my mother said, "She's that queer-looking one."
Yeah.
And I just remember, I suppose that was an opening for me to step in and say, "Hey, well, look over here."
Yeah, but you couldn't do that.
No.
I get it. I mean,
I remember I told my sister, my older sister, well, they were all older than me. I was the baby. I told her I was going to tell Mom and Dad, and she said, "Why would you do that?" Because I have an older brother who's gay.
wow.
And he never. Oh God, it's in the book.
I can't. You better write this thing.
Yeah.
You wrote it, but you better get it out. But no, my.
I got married. My father married me
To a woman.
To a woman. Yep. Wow. My brother came to the wedding drunk. Because in a Baptist home, you didn't talk to each other about these things. There was nothing open.
No. Well, look. My brother came to my wedding high, so not present, and I begged him to be. My older brother came in, and my two sisters. I was out with my sister when my older sister, Marion. I was 16 when I told her. I told my sister Camille when I was 15, 14. I told my cousin when I was 13. I told my younger brother, and he was like, "No, you're not." I was like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "No, you're not." I'm like, "Yes, I am." He goes, "Really? Swear to God." I'm like, "Swear to God." He goes, "No, you're not." "All right." I said, "I'm not." And he was like, "You aren't?" "Good." I went, "Yes, I am." But yeah, they were good about it. But my family was pretty good about it. Not my mother, but they all, it's just the way it was, baby.
Some of my family has come around. Cousins. Three of my sisters, the three sisters I had, are all gone now. So, that's not, their children are pretty good about it. But I'm a gunkle.
You're a gunkle. Yeah, me too. I'm a gunkle. I'm a gunkle blood-wise and not blood-wise. You know, yeah.
Do you remember concocting stories? Or didn't you do that? Didn't you go that route?
What do you mean?
To hide, to keep yourself concealed.
I think the last girl that I dated when I was maybe 16, she was a beautiful girl, Laurie Musto. That was it. I never looked back, but I was in love with this kid Billy in high school. It was unrequited. He was straight, but no, I didn't hide. I didn't. No. I was like, fuck them. I had balls back then. I don't know why. You get more afraid as you get older, I think. As far as performance goes, that's, I have fears about that. But who I am, it's, the cat's out of the bag. What's going to happen now? I just wish, and I don't do stand up much anymore. Once in a while, I do the Cafe Carlisle because I'm an elitist homosexual. But I always say,
and you understand the importance of the Cafe Carlisle.
I do. It's the cachet of it. Not too many stand-ups that play it.
Yeah.
But I also have a band, and I do my musical impressions, and I sing. But I don't. I'm glad I did all the stand-up work because you can't say what you want to say anymore. Believe me, when I go off on Twitter, like really go off, you'll know I have about 6 months to live. That's what you'll know. And I swear I'll do it. Because you reach it and you're just like, shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. You're wrong. He's not talented. That movie sucked. I just want to I want to just go off.
I had a friend who wanted to come see the E-Newsroom. He was flying through town and he contacted me and asked if I would show him around if he came in. And I said, of course. I went to elementary and high school with him. And he came and we talked. And by that point, an article had been in People magazine with a picture of me and Greg. And so I just started talking to him openly. Never heard from him again.
Of course. Wow.
Never.
He didn't see the article. There's your answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it.
In fact, to name drop, shortly after that article came out, I was in Deauville at the film festival, the American Film Festival, and George Clooney was there with his girlfriend. And he agreed to do a sit-down interview with me, and he came over and he said, my girlfriend spotted you, and I'm getting a little jealous. I said, apparently you didn't see the People magazine article. And he said, no, I saw it. I'm just giving you shit. He was the coolest. He's the best.
I heard he's a great
guy.
I never met him, but I love him.
He's great. How do you feel when you see straight men playing gay characters?
Well, I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, this is the thing. Especially, and still today, there are no openly gay movie stars, romantic leading male movie stars. None of them that are out anyway, or action heroes or whatever. So when a studio movie needs to get made, they're going to cast straight men in those gay roles if they're stars. They just did that one with Stanley Tucci and Colin Firth. They did it a few years ago. They played an older gay couple. It's still going on.
And there was one with John Lithgow and Richard Kind, I think it was.
Yeah.
They played an older couple.
Yep. It's the studio, and also there was a I forget what, but anyway, when they're independent movies and they're and there are gay. At least there's some gay actors playing gay characters on TV. There's plenty of that now. It wasn't before. But yes, I would prefer it. But I also think, look, and they'd be like, well, then maybe gay actors shouldn't be able to play straight actors. They kind of try to reverse it on you. It's like, well, first of all, there are way more straight roles than there are gay roles. So until the balance is even, they should be able to play straight roles. Look, I think if you look at, or especially look, I'm Italian. I'm Italian American, yes. And, I can't play Puerto Rican. I can't play Middle Eastern. I can't play Mexican. I can't play anything ethnic. There are many Puerto Ricans that look like me. There are many Latin men that look like me. But yet, everything I just mentioned can play Italian. And that's not fair.
We'll be back in a moment. I just was looking you up and down, looking you up, Googling you.
Yeah.
And, sometimes they put questions from strange people in there. And one of the questions was, what nationality is Mario Cantone? And I thought...
A lot of people think I'm Jewish, too, sometimes. A lot of people think I'm Jewish, which I understand that.
What nationality is Mario?
Yeah, I know. Well, because Mario...
Cantone?
Yeah. There's some, there's some... I know some plenty of Latin men that are named Mario, too. So I'm Italian. Mario Cantone is... People, they see the vowels and they think, well, it could be anything.
What was it like on the set? I'm going to ask more serious questions. Yeah. When the Chris Noth scandal happened.
We didn't. He wasn't there when it happened. We had already filmed that first episode where he dies. I just saw Chris recently. I love Chris. He's a good guy, and everyone got very quiet about it. That's all you can do. I don't know. Nobody has the power to go, hey, we love him. He's a good guy. No one said much, and I think people were very sad about it, because I know, everyone loved him on set, and we had a great time with him. So I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I don't know.
Right.
Right. But it's always sad when that shit happens. It sucks.
When Kim Cattrall didn't come back and just like that, how did that go down?
It was fine. I mean, she didn't want to do it.
Were you hurt? Was the cast hurt?
No, I think they were okay about it. I think they were. I mean, you can't force someone to do what they don't want to do, and she really didn't want to do it. So it was. No one knew if it was going to work without her, but I think it did, but yeah, she did. She just didn't want to come back. It's just, when any of this shit happens, it's change. It changes things, and I don't like change. I like it to be all the way it is, and the way
forever and ever. Amen.
I hate change. That's why I've lived in the same apartment buildings my whole life. I don't change. I've moved like 3 times in my building. I'm not getting a U-Haul. I'm carrying it up the stairs, putting it in the elevator.
Well, do it now, because you won't have much longer to do that.
I know.
You get to a certain age and you can't carry anything.
You can't carry shit.
Can't carry yourself.
Oh my God, I know. I try to stay healthy. I mean, I sleep all I can. Like I say, I work out a lot. There was a 10-year period where I didn't work out, and then Michael Patrick King said to me before the second season of It Just Like That, you're going to be getting naked. And I was like, are you out of your fucking mind? I said, I took my shirt off once during like Sex and the City. He said, no, you're gonna be getting naked. And I said, well, okay. So I remember November of 2022, I started working out, and we filmed those scenes in 2023. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, not too bad next to this 12-year-old.
Who's built like an Madonna.
Yeah, he's a beautiful boy.
Yeah.
He's so handsome.
Were you comfortable with the way that the show dealt with Willie's death? Willie Garson?
Yeah, I was. I mean, look, we already killed Big. We couldn't kill him. We couldn't, have him die, that character. So you just, I mean, it was an odd thing that he went to Japan and became a monk. But that scene with Sarah and I was really beautiful when she reads that letter to me. So yeah, I was very happy with it. I thought it was kind of a spiritual, way of dealing with his death. Yeah. Because people were like, well, and people ask me that question, and they'll say, come on, and I'm like, you write it. What do you want me to say? I liked it. I thought it was beautiful, and I thought, you can't kill someone else. You just killed a major character. It's like killing Samantha. You're not going to kill her. It's just, that's. And people think, oh, well, she did have cancer and, during Sex and the City. Yeah, well, she doesn't anymore. She's alive.
And we saw Bozo the Bush already.
Yeah, we did see Bozo the Bush.
That was so funny.
I know, the Merkin.
Yes. That was hysterical. I feel silly asking this question, but was the set or the feeling between the cast, I always thought, looked like they were getting along great.
They do.
Was what was being said in the tabloids just fodder?
What about
people not getting along?
Well, look, during Sex and the City, I wasn't there all the time. I did 12 episodes over the last 4 seasons. So I never saw any of that shit. There were no fights. There were no, and just because you work together doesn't mean you're going to socialize together. I see Sarah Jessica once.
In fact, it's kind of rare.
It's rare. I mean, I see Sarah Jessica once in a great while, But when we work together, we sit next to each other. We can't stop talking to each other. I adore her. You know, Kristen asked me to do her podcast twice. I did it. Cynthia, I've worked with in the theater. You know, Kim, I used to see all the time back in the day. Sarita Chowdhury's become very close, and Sebastiano. So, in this case, there are people I do hang out with, but they didn't. No, I think I didn't see it. And during this, it was very happy time during And Just Like That.
Mario, what do you do for fun?
I cook.
I was going to ask you if you knew how to bake bread.
Oh, I do.
Oh,
well,
do
that's
you?
why he did it.
Oh.
I hated being a wedding planner because I don't know how to dress someone. When I had to say the lace applique with the doily, whatever the fuck, I was like, I don't know what that is. I didn't get that gay gene. I don't know. I don't care about your Jimmy Choos. I don't give a fuck. I didn't care. So I really had to play at that, being the designer. I don't know how to, I'm not a good interior designer. I'm not just, no. So when he made it culinary, he said, I knew I wanted to do something culinary. Because after the Improv, doing sets at the Improv with Michael, because he was a stand-up comedian years ago. That's how we met. He would, come over and he knew I baked. So, I didn't know he was going to come up with that hilarious situation with the hot fella's bread. But I bake. I cook. I cooked every night during COVID. Every night. And I got to tell you, I actually had a great time.
What do you do for fun?
Sleep, eat, go to the theater, hang out with a few small circle of friends.
Do you ever sit at home and just watch TV?
Yeah.
Do you?
I do. Oh, yeah. I watch it. I binge stuff. I don't go to the movies like I used to, which is really sad because a lot of people don't.
It's just kind of
yeah, it's there. Here
got
it
out
is.
of the habit.
I know. It's understandable. Yeah. I
COVID
love
ruined a lot of stuff.
What? I know. But I do love the theater. I love going to the theater. And I'm going to be going back to Broadway in May and June and July. I don't know if you ever heard of this thing. I've been doing it for years. It's called Celebrity Autobiography.
No.
Where celebrities read from other celebrities, like ridiculous autobiographies. You do solos. They do mashups where they have 3 or 4 different autobiographies from different people that deal with the same subject matter or the same story, and they kind of juxtapose pieces from that. It's really, I get to do Kathleen Turner and Susan Lucci and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Barbra Streisand. It's really, and Kathleen Turner. It's so fun. Did I say Kathleen
I was interviewing Kathleen Turner.
Okay, Kathleen Turner. Well, what did she say to you?
It was not so much what she said. She was sitting with her legs crossed.
Yes.
And she was, how women sometimes, men too, bounce their leg.
Yeah.
Her shoe flew off across the room.
It's hilarious.
It's like, so we had to stop everything. We had to put the shoe back on.
I met her
bizarre.
during the Broadway years. During Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which she was unbelievable in. She's one of the great stage actresses I had ever seen. I know she was a movie star, but boy, on stage, she's something. But we got to know each other a little bit. But I ran into her on a plane. She was behind me, and my husband and I were in the front, the bulkhead, and I just heard the steward and stewardess, I don't know what you call them anymore because I don't want to be politically incorrect. Whatever! Flight attendants said, Miss Turner, Mr. Bachman, and I was like, it's the Bachman-Turner Overdrive. They're touring again. And then I see this woman get up. She's got this long hair. She just turned around. She's like, oh, my God, Mario, what are you doing here? I said, I'm going to San Francisco. Oh, my God, really? I'm going to San Francisco. Where are you going? I said, I'm going to San Francisco. She's like, oh, that's somebody. What are you doing? I said, I'm just going to Healdsburg. Oh, Healdsburg. Yes, it's very nice there. I said, yeah, it's nice. I like it. She's like, yes, I'm going to Bolinas, which I go to a lot, by the way. Bolinas. I said, Bolinas. I love Bolinas. Oh, yes. There's nothing like Bolinas. You should come. What? For when? Well, the 4th of July in Bolinas. I said, well, I'd love to come, but I'm going to be in Healdsburg. Well, you can go to Healdsburg if you want to, but there's nothing like Bolinas. I'm like, okay. She's hilarious. Yeah, I like her a lot. She's fun.
When did you first notice Judy Garland?
When I was 2 years old, my mother had the Carnegie Hall album, and I learned that whole album, double album, from at 2 years old. I used to sing it on the coffee table for company. And my mother always said she was the greatest, and she was. She was the greatest. There was no one better. No, not a better live performer and an incredible actress. And so I would get on the coffee table and sing for company. And then at 8 years old, I graduated to Barbra Streisand and would sing Funny Girl. And then my mother didn't love the fact that I was gay, and I was like, well, mixed messages, Mom. Yeah.
I used to be afraid to tell people that I liked Barbra Streisand and Judy Garland.
Oh, no.
It was like,
I would put it, you know what's so funny? I think, especially when I was younger, I didn't really understand that only gay people like this. Even like the Disney movies. And someone to ask me a question, do people feel, how do you feel about, loving the Disney stuff? And what the fuck do you mean? And they were referring to the fact that, mostly just gay people like that. No, that's not true. I mean, Garland, yeah. But back in the day, there were plenty of straight men that loved Judy Garland. She was, a great entertainer. Couldn't be all gay people, but they were a big part of her audience.
We'll be back for more in a moment. My sister used to come visit me every summer. And one year when she came, I had been invited to a charity screening of Sweetheart's Dance, which starred Don Johnson and Susan Sarandon.
Yeah.
And at the time, Don Johnson was seeing Barbra Streisand. So I said to my sister, I got, this screening. If you want to go, I wouldn't be surprised if, it was in Westwood, if Miss Streisand showed up next to him. And sure enough, after the lights came down, she was brought in with Don Johnson and seated in the row behind us. My sister was a huge Streisand fan. She had every album, as cliched as it sounds.
Yeah.
And so my sister sat there. Every 2 seconds, she was looking back at Barbra. And afterwards, her publicist for that particular time was Elliot Mintz. And Elliot said, would you like to meet Barbra? And I said, Becky, would you like to meet Barbra? And Barbra could not have been nicer. I said to my sister, play it cool, okay? Don't go overboard. And of course, Becky, I have every one of your albums, blah, 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 blah. And Streisand was she deflected everything to Don Johnson. Wasn't he great in this and stuff? And she could not have been.
I never met her. I fucking love her. I think she's the greatest. But I never met her. But I did do a pilot with Don Johnson. And he was very cool.
2 degrees of separation.
The nicest guy in the world. He was so cool. I loved working with him. And I remember I said to him, I don't know if he liked it, but I was like, it's like you and Sal Mineo once again. Because they did a play together years ago. Fortune in Men's Eyes here. When Don was like 19. But yeah, he was pretty cool. He was a great guy and a wonderful actor. It was actually a pilot called A Man's World, which Michael Patrick King directed. It didn't go, but we thought it was. We were very disappointed.
Who have you met that just knocked your socks off?
I just met Carol Burnett and cried in her face.
Did you?
Yeah, because and I never asked to meet anybody at the festival, at the Turner Classic Movie Film Festival. I asked to meet Anne Margaret, met her. She was so nice. This was a few years ago. But Ben Mankiewicz said to me when he was interviewing me, he sent me a picture of Carol and himself that he had just taken, and he texted me. He said, I'm sitting here with her, and she said, I love you and Mario together on TCM. So I knew, I was like, I have to meet her. So when I came in there yesterday, she was like, Mario, come over here. Come over here. So I came over there, knelt down, and I talked to her for like 10 minutes and cried in her face, and she just was a big fan and loved me on TCM, saw me on Broadway in Assassins, and just, you never know what people know. And she was very kind, and we talked about Joan Crawford, and we talked about, all the sketches. We talked about Harvey Korman. I told her that my sister Marion, when she graduated Emerson College in 1966, she was the first recipient of the Carol Burnett Award. So I got to tell her that, which was pretty cool. So that was a big one. That's a big one for me. And she was so wonderful and nice, and yeah, it was pretty awesome.
I hope you're enjoying your life.
I am. I'm enjoying it. I am. I do enjoy it. I love.
I hope you realize you've made a positive impact on popular culture and how much it means to people.
Well, that's very. Thank you. We don't know. We don't know what we do. We don't know the impact we have. We don't see it because we're always bothered by some other, meaningless shit, and it gets in the way of what you've done and the impact that you've had. I don't know. I don't feel it all the time. But you know what I mean? I don't feel it all the time. But sometimes when you get those letters from young gay men, or you get letters from someone whose mother was sick and you made them laugh, that's when you go, oh, okay. You know, that happens once in a while, and that's when it means a lot. You know, and I know I've made this cultural impact because of Sex and the City too, and I'm a lucky guy that came into my life, and that it kept going. And now it's over.
Is there going to be any more Sex and the City?
I don't know. You never know, but they better get it done. Be Sex in the Sunshine home. Get me my walker.
Thank you. Thank
Steve Kmetko.
Thank
now
you.
You're going to ask me what I want to be remembered as?
How do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as a good actress.
I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Yes.
Still Here Hollywood is a production of the Still Here Network. All things technical run by Justin Zangerly. Theme music by Brian Sanishin. And executive producer is Jim Lichtenstein.